Yo, it's the one, the only Coach Flo back at it again on another episode of Generational Investors. And I got a special guest hanging out with us today. I'm excited for everyone. If you don't know, if he's new to you, he is having a great impact in the Houston area. Yes, I appreciate DrDokes.
Thank you, Coach Flo.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, my friend?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so we just want to talk about an important topic today. We've been trying to get our schedules together, and hey, God allowed us to meet, cross paths, and we finally getting it together. And I think we're gonna get some things accomplished today. We're gonna have some healthy dialogue, and this title, emotional intelligence. Okay, emotional intelligence, and we're going to talk about, for those who might not understand and kind of might have heard of the term and the concept, DrDokes is going to break it down as much as we can, and we might not get everything all done in this one setting, but we're going to continue to keep the discussion going. So this is part one. All right, part one, and just want to ask you, are you emotional intelligent? Okay, that's what I want you to think about. Are you emotional intelligent? And as we talk today, just want to get this thing started. And if you're stopping by the channel for the first time, consider subscribing, hitting a like, continue to share. And so today, tell us a little bit about yourself, DrDokes.
Yeah, Coach Flo, first of all, thank you for allowing me to be in this platform, in this space with you. All of the wonderful things that you're doing to help us, right, as a community, not just individuals, but as collectively as a community.
Yes, sir.
The work that you are doing is really making an impact, and I'm just excited to be here on today and to be talking with your audience. And so a little bit about me is I'm originally from Louisiana, country boy. Right. So every now and then you may hear me dangle a participle or drop a comma out of place.
Yes,
That's just going back to my roots.
Yes, sir.
But seriously, I'm from Louisiana, a place where it's about love, right? Yeah. One of the things you can tell about us, we love good food and we love loving on people.
Yes, sir.
And so I try to do that. But I graduated from Southern University with my accounting degree. And after that, I moved to Houston, where I was able to get my MBA in business. And then from there, I got my doctorate in leadership. Okay. And so God has really used me in all of those spaces. Okay. Along the way, I picked up nuggets in each one of those, from being an auditor in the city of Baton Rouge, all the way to coming to Houston and working for United Way, and then for the UT Health System, and all the way up to now, where I've been working for the educational system through Houston Community College, and currently in my role as provost at San Jacinto College, the Generation Park campus. But the other part of me that I got to put out there for you is that I'm not just a transactional person, right? The other side of me is that I'm a spiritual person, right? Sir. I love God's word and what it means to me and my family, and how to utilize the word, not just from a study perspective or research to say, I know that John 3:16 said this or this said. No, I'm talking about how do you take that word and make it come alive in the work that you do, because the work that you do and yet you are doing are actually influencing people all over this world, especially those that are in your immediate influence. So a part of me is that transactional career side of me that's come up through that undergrad, through that master's, and all the way to the doctorate, and all the work I do in the college and educational space. And also another part of me is the spiritual work that I do inside of, I go to Lakewood Church here in Houston, Texas. I'm under the leadership of Pastor Joel and Victoria Osteen right here in Houston. So I'm excited to be in that space as well. And then one other part of me, there's another part of me. So I own my own professional development and leadership coaching company, where I get an opportunity to work with organizations when it comes to things like emotional intelligence that you just brought up to your group, which is extremely important. I think we're going to dive into here in a second and try to drop some nuggets for all of us to be able to have access to. But that's the other part. And then a part of that professional development is the coaching piece, where I get a chance to work with CEOs. I get a chance to work with pastors and wives, or just your typical individuals, trying to help them become unblocked. How are they showing up, right? Results are not just something that just come. They come from something. So how you show up actually helps the energy around you and helps the outcome. So I think we're going to be talking about that here in a second.
Yes, sir. And so with that being said, what is emotional intelligence, the art, the concept, in your studies, what have you learned about emotional intelligence?
Yeah, and so back in the early 80s, Bar-On and Goldman and all those folks along the way coined this term around emotional intelligence, right? Very cute thing to coin back then. It was really unknown from a theoretical or a peer-reviewed perspective, but really what they were trying to capture as researchers was how people feel, right? How are they showing up? How intelligent are we when we show up in our spousal relationships? How intelligent are we when we show up with our kids as parents? How intelligent are we when we show up in our social spaces, right? When people are responding to us, they're responding to something.
Right.
They're not responding to nothing. So how intelligent are we from our emotional side? Are we completely aware of who we are and what we're presenting on a daily basis? And that's really where the emotional intelligence was born. Now there's a lot of talk around emotional or EQ 2.0. It's just really building up on the work of Bar-On and Goldman and all those other people that started that work in many, many years ago.
Gotcha. And what made you pursue this industry or profession?
Yeah, so I'm really, as I told you before, being from Louisiana, I'm about people. People to me is everything. And I mean that seriously. I don't meet strangers. I meet people I haven't met before. And so being a part of that, when you're meeting people, you have to understand they're not the same as you.
Right.
They come from different places. They like different types of food. They're different heights and sizes. And they come in all sorts of flavors, right?
Right.
Which means that if you are not open to accepting those differences, you're going to be challenged when people come into your spaces, right?
Right.
You can't control folks,
nope.
Especially grown folks. You can't.
Exactly. We
can barely in 2024. It's hard to even control our kids, right?
Exactly.
We have to give them a cell phone to get them to shut up and a piece of pizza. But the point is that when we get to the place that we can understand who they are and what they bring to the table, we can figure out how to mesh that and collaborate with that so that we can have a richer space together. Right. And so really, I embrace the whole emotional intelligence as a part of my doctorate in leadership journey. I am emotional intelligence certified, along with other areas such as energy leadership. They kind of play hand in glove. And so, but in this space of emotional intelligence, I really like it because it helped me to understand who I am and how I'm showing up. I don't know if you remember this many years ago, and if your audience will remember this, but there was a book out about the 5 love languages, right? And people really grasped onto that. I'm touch, and I'm this, and I'm that. But really what that book was really about is helping us to dig into what type of emotions drive us. Sometimes it's a touch, right? We get emotions from that. Sometimes it's that constant appraisal, right? Approval of who I am and really making firm, right? Affirmation, really making me feel good about who I am. But regardless of who it is, if you're not intelligent about that, you'll struggle when you show up in those relationships because you're not aware and you cannot help the other person become aware of who you are. And there lies the challenge that we have. And so that book was really about helping us to understand who we are. And we see many research books being written around emotional intelligence, but at the core, we're really talking about understanding our emotions and how they really drive how we show up in our spaces.
That's what I'm talking about. And I'm glad you said that because my next question, I believe in healthy relationships.
Oh boy.
So this is going to get really good. Healthy relationships are important. How does emotional intelligence, EQ, play an important role?
Yeah, so relationships are pretty much everything. As social creatures, we have a desire and a need to be around other people. Whether we're looking for affirmation or touch or whatever it is that we're looking for, we have that innate, that internal desire to want to interact with one another and to learn of each other and to get affirmation from one another and just be with each other. This is what we call family, communities, whether we're talking about a smaller community of a family or whether we're talking about our greater families and as we move out into the workplace, et cetera, et cetera. But really, it's about how do you create a situation where 2 people or 10 people, depending on what we're talking about in relationships, let's talk about it from a personal relationship perspective. That one I know will be hot because all of us can use a little bit of help right there.
There we go.
But when we talk about emotional intelligence from a personal perspective, and I'll use some of the coaching work that I do. So in the coaching spaces that I sit in, couples will oftentimes come to that space and they want to talk about you being wrong and I'm being right, or you being right and I'm being wrong.
Right.
When you taking that angle of it, you're really just trying to figure out, you haven't figured out your intelligence around your emotions if you were making those statements. What would be different if you come into those spaces and say, I want us to figure out how to become better together.
Yeah.
Right? So now we're saying, okay, I want to understand me and why am I showing up this way? And then I would love to understand him and why he's showing up this way, or her and how she's showing up this way, so that we can now have this intelligence around who we really are.
Right.
Here's something that I say. I don't have the data today, exact data, but people oftentimes say that it's worse than what I say it is. Really, in relationships, you're probably only going to know about 80% of your partner or your spouse, right? You really only going to know about 80%, because the other 20% we want to maintain as an individual. And I don't suggest that there's anything wrong with that, or that you're hiding anything, bad boy or bad girl.
Right.
No, it simply means that you want to stay an individual in this collective work that we are doing. We understand that we become one, but we become one as two individuals. We bring attributes to that relationship. And if we're going to value that, we need to know the value that you bring, and you need to know the value that I bring. So let's talk about it from an emotional intelligence perspective. If I know that I'm a hothead,
right,
that I like things my way,
right,
and I'm bringing somebody into my space, then I need to have that conversation with them. It's not right to them that I hide it as a wolf in sheep clothing.
Exactly.
Well, it's just who I am. 5 years later, it's just who I am.
Right.
It's who you were 5 years ago.
Come on now.
You just didn't tell me that you was like that. I would have probably, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But now, if you're emotionally intelligent about who you are, you would say, look, in the past, I've had relationships and we've struggled around me liking things my way. So let's talk about that, sweetheart, right? And then y'all sit down and y'all talk about it, and then she gives her opinion about it. She wants to understand more. Can you tell me more? Where do you think it came from? And so I think it came from here, but I want to work on it.
Right.
Will you be able to help me work on this? I would love to help you work on that. And then in turn, she comes around and say, well, I have an issue too. I'm not a good cook. No, I'm just kidding, right? You don't like everything in the microwave. No. But she may come back and say that, hey, I'm not a really good cook, and I know you came from Louisiana and you like good food. And let's talk about that.
That's right.
Let's see what that means. I'm using some simple examples here, but the point I want to express is that you need to be intelligent about who you are.
Right.
You need to be intelligent about who you are, and we need to be intelligent about who we are, so that when we come together, we can really collectively work on what our relationship looks like. Now, we are emotionally intelligent about each other, and now we can work on those points that are different, and it's okay that they're different.
Right.
It's just something that we need to work on.
I love it. I love it. And with the pillars of EQ, I know previous seminars and workshops I attended when you was talking, break down those pillars for those who don't know about the pillars.
Yes, there's about 5 or 6 of those pillars, depending on what model that you're looking at. But there's things around self-perception, self-awareness, right?
Yep.
Things about impulse control. How do you manage your impulse? There's others like depression or decision-making, should I say, not depression, but decision-making. How are you showing up when it comes to those things? Are you spending all the money on Amazon? Stop that. But are you spending all the money at Amazon and boxes coming every day, but you're making those decisions alone? Or are you making those decisions if there's a partner or spouse? Are you making those decisions inside of that space, or are you doing it alone? Well, emotional intelligence says that if you know that there's going to be a problem with you making that decision to spend $500 by yourself, even though you're in a collective situation, you shouldn't do that, right? So if you're intelligent, you would say, let me call them or talk to them about the purchase that I'm getting ready to make. So decision making. But a big one also is impulse control. Sometimes we have these impulses where we just I'm just going to give you my mind. I'm just going to tell you what's on my mind. There lies the problem, my friend, right?
Yes, it is.
So sometimes we have to learn to control those impulses, not just it's about purchasing, but about the things that we say. Because when you put it out there, it cannot be taken back.
Right.
And people don't forget. Right? They remember everything that you said, or sometimes not said with your body language. So be careful what energy we put out into the atmosphere, because people will collect that and then start to draw and color who you are to them moving forward. So You got to really think about impulse control,
Okay.
self-perception. How do you perceive yourself?
Man,
That's huge.
that's
right?
huge.
That's really huge. How do you perceive yourself? I don't know if you know this, but today there's a big issue with mental health.
Yes.
Right? There's a lot of research out there around mental health. And I remember reading Dr. Joe Grasso, who's the vice president of workforce transformation inside of the Lara Health Report. He wrote something on the state of the workforce mental health. And he said in there, we have sort of began to embrace the stigma around anxiety, depression, and stress. Yeah. But those deeper things that happen in emotional, or should I say mental health, we have not begun to embrace yet. Right. So we got a lot of work to do. Well, many people hide behind that. So self-perception is very big for us. We don't want people to really find out who we are. Yeah. So we only try to show them a percentage of who we are, and we try to hide behind it. But people see you. Yeah. They see you, whether you say it or not. We can see who you are. So why don't we just put it all on the table? Right? If I can't put my cards on the table with your cards, then maybe we shouldn't be playing cards. Maybe we need another partner to play cards with. Say that again. Right? Because self-perception is huge. Right. I need to look and see how I perceive myself. And hopefully when I become intelligent about me, we can have a conversation so we can figure out how you see me as well. I'm not necessarily saying that your version of me is going to be how I live. Right. I'm not saying that now. Right. But what I am saying, at least we need to have a conversation about who I am inside of this self-perception space. The other side of that is when people perceive themselves of low energy, always the victim, right? Because of something that someone has told you in your past. It's a lie. Trust me, my friend, you have the skill, the knowledge, and the ability to be whoever you want to be. Don't listen to those lies. Understand that from a perception perspective of yourself, get that inside of you. Now, as I told you earlier, I spent a lot of time in the church space and studying the word and then doing professional development in that space. And so I like to lean on my word to tell me who I am and what God said in his word. And I just like to put that out there to the audience. I don't know what type of books you're reading, but I like to read the Bible as another one of those books. And in that book, it said that God knows his plans for me, to prosper me and to take care of me. He knows, and he created inside of me love and strong mind, not of fear and of doubt and afraid to be really good at who he's made me to be. So we got to understand from a self-perception who we are, right, before we can, that energy can go off into other people. So if you perceive yourself of a low stature, a victim mentality, you're going to come across like that. Your shoulders are going to drop. Your head is often dropped. Your conversations is about the things that can't happen, that won't happen. Right. People have always done me wrong. And that energy is going to be pushed off to other people. Well, if they don't like that type of energy, they're going to push back from you. And you're going to be asking the question, why does it always seem that people don't want to be in my space? But maybe you're giving off negative energy. Who wants that? I don't even think that you want that, because you have the ability to be better than where you are. And hopefully some of this conversation today will help you do that. But again, it's also important that we as a couple, if you have a couple working together, what is our perception of each other? Right. And what energy do we push off to those around us? Yes. How are we influencing us? Because each one of us have the power to influence. Yes, we do. Right? Yes, we're all leaders in our own right. Yes, and so we're influencing people that through our words and mainly through our actions. It's stated that your actions speak 1,000 words. And trust me, you're influencing people. So watch your perception of yourself. Have that positive look about yourself. Here's another one. I have a friend by the name of Remito, who's a celebrity stylist. And fortunate for me, because he's my friend, I get to dress like this because he makes sure that I show up in the right perspective, right? Yes, sir. And that I have a good self-perception of myself. But the way you dress can oftentimes help determine how you feel. This is documented. This is not Dr.Dokes speaking or Remito speaking. It's documented that the way you dress can affect the way you feel. If you wear dark clothes all the time, it can dampen your spirit. If you listen to songs in minor keys, you can become depressed, right? Normally you hear minor keys used to be older songs, but maybe too much jazz. So too much of anything is bad for us, right? And so you have to know that, become one of the emotional intelligence is self-awareness, is where I'm going. That's it. You have to be aware of what you're putting inside of you and what's coming out of you, right?
100% agree.
So if you understand that there are certain things that change your mood and how you're showing up, you should manage those,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Even the people that are in your spaces, right? Everybody in your space ain't for you. I know there's no proper English, right? And my doctorate chair would not like that, but everybody in your space, Louisiana style, ain't for you. So we have to be careful of who we are allowing inside of our spaces because they're in our ears.
Yes, sir.
They're in our results, right? And so depending, let's example, let's say you are having a problem with your spouse, right? And you have somebody in your ear, man, I wouldn't be putting up with that. She can't cook. You know what I'm saying, bro? I would just, no. Don't be listening to that. Right. What if he was putting in your ear, hey, my wife was not a really good cook, and I paid for this session for her, and she went to this session. Man, she is amazing cook now. That's the energy that you want. That positive energy that's being pushed in your ear. So guard your heart. Yes, sir. Be self-aware what you're allowing into your space, because what you're allowing into your space is shaping who you are.
Man, hey, he's dropping these nuggets. And so as we talking about guarding your heart, for those who is afraid to say no, man, that's a powerful word to use.
Yes. Boundaries.
You talk about boundaries.
Yes. So I remember being at Lakewood Church some time ago, and we were talking about in the God's Word, when we talk about enlarging our territory, right? When you ask God to enlarge your territory, or when your territory is enlarged, let's say you have a house that is 1,500 square feet. Well, you got to clean 1,500 square feet. So when you're dreaming about that bigger house that's 2,500 square feet or 3,500 square feet, when you get it, you got to now clean double the space that you had to clean before. So whatever energy that you was pushing out before at 15, you have to double that now, or you prepared to do that, right? So we have to make sure that our boundaries are protected. Being aware, self-perception, and being aware, knowing who you are and being aware of who you are in your decision making, you know what type of boundaries that you need to have for yourself. If you know that you're weak in a particular area, let's say you have and we have this, and I love the fact that the church and other programs are available. Let's say someone has an alcohol problem, which is a real challenge for our people.
Yes, sir.
If they have an alcohol problem, first of all, you have self-perception. You know you do. You're self-aware of that.
Right.
You don't want to put yourself in a situation to where alcohol is constantly being introduced to you, because you're going to potentially go back into an old active state of mind.
Yes, sir.
And it's harder for you to continue to be free from that if you continue to put yourself inside of that. So we need to set boundaries.
Yes, sir.
If you know that this person in your life is telling you something other than what you need to hear, let's say you're in a spousal relationship or you're dating someone and you got this other sound bites coming in your ear all the time. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't see nothing wrong with, wait a minute, something is wrong with that.
Yeah.
When people are telling you, I don't see nothing, something is wrong with that. Yeah. So make sure that you guard your boundaries. Know who you are, be aware of that, and don't make impulsive decisions. Know your boundaries. It's okay. I remember growing up from a masculine perspective, if you were considered not being in control of your boundaries or being afraid to expand your boundaries or whatever, you say you have to man up.
Yeah.
Right. Man up, man.
Yeah.
And in the female world, I've heard, I don't know this to be true, but I've heard that it's from there, they'll say, girl, you need to get it together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's okay to have boundaries and to know who you are, right? In Christ, or know who you are in your relationship, know who you are at work, know who you are in your social spaces. Always know who you are. And if you're dealing with a mental health challenge, let's say you got stress, anxiety, or depression, know that. Right?
Yes, sir.
You don't have to worry about being ashamed of that. You should be able to talk to people in your space about that and be able to feel comfortable because you are setting boundaries around it, or you are being aware of it. And if people cannot fit inside of your boundaries that's going to successfully help you to be who you want to be, then maybe they shouldn't be there.
Come on.
I'm just saying.
Come on.
Maybe so know who's inside of those boundaries that you've set, but make sure you set very clear boundaries for yourself. Even when it comes to your let's say at the beginning of the year, people come out with resolutions, right?
Yes, sir.
They're basically coming out with boundaries. They're trying to say, I want to do this, I don't want to do this. They're creating boundaries. So you don't want to stay with those boundaries for 1 or 2 months and use them as a resolution and just let them fall by the wayside. if those boundaries are good for you, make sure that you set those boundaries and you stay inside those boundaries. And then as you grow, you ask God to enlarge your territory, to provide you more opportunities to learn and to grow. And I think that's actually okay.
I think that's definitely okay. And just like those who are evolving or growing, okay, we talking about relationships, whether you are in a marriage or you're a boyfriend and girlfriend, or we just talking about friends. That phrase, friends, is so hard to find nowadays because you have a lot of people who are carrying baggage. You have people who are out for themselves, you know, and you have to really think about, are you that friend that you want to draw to you?
Yeah. You know, one of the things is that's huge right there. Thank you for tapping into that. And what I would suggest is that sometimes we have people in our lives who are parasites. They simply are taking from us. But we may feel that we need to be around them because they may be popular, or we may deem them as being popular, or having more assets or resources, or being whoever they happen to be, better dressers.
Or you roll with them.
Right? Yeah. They have more likes on Facebook or wherever it is that you have.
The history behind it.
The history behind it, right? So sometimes we feel like we have to roll with them. But if they're parasitic, they're taken from you, you need to guard that boundary, man. You need to remove that. Because eventually you're dying on the vine. Because your identity is being lost inside of their space. You think it's your space, your own space, but really your identity is being lost because you're becoming a sub of what that other person is. And I'm not sure that's why you got into a friendship, to do that. And then you have friends who are completely jealous of everything that you're trying to accomplish, right?
You touching on some people.
You get it?
Come on now.
You're right. I'm sorry to be a little messy here. I'm just kidding.
No.
But we're diving into this.
We are.
So sometimes you have friends in your life who are upset and jealous about the things that you are accomplishing.
And comparing.
Yes. They're constantly comparing themselves to you. You get a new car, you're thinking about buying that new BMW, Mercedes, or whatever car it is that you're thinking, they have something negative to say about it. Oh, I wouldn't do that because I heard so and so. You're thinking about buying a new pair of shoes. Now, I don't like those shoes, right? You have a friend in your life. Let's say you got a new guy that you've met, or you're in a relationship and you're trying to advance. Well, I don't know why y'all be doing this or why you putting up with that. They're constantly trying to pull you down to their level. Right? Nah, be who you are. Remember the self-perception and the self-awareness and guarding your boundaries. Be who you are. Don't allow others to come into your space. Now, it's different if someone is in your space and giving you really good, solid wisdom advice, right? Pouring into you. I like to say that when friends are in my space, if they use a coaching tone, such as, hey, D, I heard you was going to buy a new Mercedes. Why are you doing that? Well, I want a new car because so it's cool. What color you looking at getting? I'm looking at getting this color. Well, I read on the internet that the blue car, blase. That's more of a coaching perspective friendship. They're not looking to pull you down. They're really being good friends. Now, here's another one though about good friends. Good friends are not, they don't necessarily need to be in your face every single day to be a good friend.
Say it again.
They don't need to be texting you all day long and in your business, girls. I don't know if that's a good friend or not.
Come on now.
Right? I think that I'm not sure even if that's a true friend. That is a person that's in your space that's trying to be in your business.
That's it.
They know. And I'm gonna tell you this: you gotta be careful about telling your business.
All right now. Come on.
You put your business out there, people don't forget what you say. So be careful what you're saying about the one that you're with. Because if it's good stuff, they remember it, my friend.
Yes, sir.
And you got to be careful. So you have to protect your boundaries, whether we're talking about friends from a social perspective, or whether we're talking about people we're letting in our personal space or in our heart space.
Right.
Be careful who you let in your space because they're going to have influence. And so if you allow people to do that, then they can determine how you show up. I want to just plug one other thing right there that's been on my heart and my mind, and I'll talk about this.
Okay.
And that is, in the social media space, this generation, and I don't mean like a particular age, I'm talking about now.
Right.
If you're 60 in this space, or 70 in this space, or 20 in this space, so it doesn't mean that a particular generation. But now, people are so hung up on getting likes and being liked by people they don't even know.
Come on now.
And plus, a lot of people that's liking you are just liking you because they just want to get the same thing. They're not liking you because they really like what you're talking about or really like who you are. They're just doing it because we're in the like society right now.
Yes, we are.
However, It's okay to get the likes, but what we're finding is that when people are not likes or getting those likes, either on social media or getting somebody to sign off on something they want to do in their personal space, they become, they get anxiety or they become depressed. Here is where you need to know who you are and whose you are.
That's it.
Right?
That's
you need to understand and stand on your own 2 feet and be strong about who you are. Your back should be straight. You should be confident about your knowledge and your skill set and how you look and how God made you. It's okay.
Yes, sir.
Right? That I'm different than you. In fact, that's probably a good thing that I'm different than you.
Yes, sir.
However, you don't want to get depressed behind what somebody else think about you. So I would say to this like generation, be liked first with yourself and be good with yourself. And then if you can be okay with everything else.
Yes, sir.
So that's my comment about this age. And again, I'm not talking about your age because I'm a young, I think I'm like 27 or something that. But I would like to say to you, if you are 20 or below, if you're above 50 years old or in the middle, it's about understanding who you are, self-perception of who you are from an emotional, intelligent perspective. It's okay if people don't like everything that you're saying. Know who you are and whose you are, and you're going to go for it. I believe in you.
Yes, sir.
I just want you to believe even more in you.
Yes, sir. I love it. And for those who have the family issues, because I know, we talk about friends, let's bring it a little bit home for those who got family issues. And I'm talking about, okay, if your mom, dad, brother, sister, hey, you have a dream, you have a goal, and you want to better yourself, and you grew up in this toxic environment because everybody's environment wasn't healthy.
Yes.
And they just still see you as that person that you once was. The EQ or the emotional intelligence side or the self-awareness side, how do you navigate as you are growing, as you're learning who you are becoming, and they're having the trouble dealing with accepting you.
The new you.
That's it.
Yeah. So you are so honored, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Coach Flo, this is a beautiful conversation. And thank you for inviting me.
Man, I appreciate it.
You got to invite me back. You heard me say,
hey, we'll do it
got to invite me back.
We'll do it again.
But family, when you come up as a youth, all your behaviors are learned. Your family is helping to shape those behaviors, your thought processes. But as you grow, you begin to bounce them against other things that you experience along the way. You begin to grow into who God has made you to be as an individual inside of the family. And so the family have seen you be this person, Coach Flo, all your life. Let's say they call you Little Flo. That's all they've ever seen inside of you. So if the family has not gone out and really progressed their dreams and moved their dreams forward, they also want to put that energy off on you and try to hold you down so we can all stay in the same boat when we have our family reunions and talk about everybody else.
Come on now.
Right? But as you begin to mature and you begin to believe in yourself and know that you can do it, and you begin to reap some of that success of being passionate about your spaces, they may not see you as that person, so they struggle with who you have become. Right? Opposed to who they see you as being because they came up with you. You don't have to continue to be who they see you as.
Yes, sir.
You want to become who you need to be and who God has shaped you to be. But here's the deal. Not everybody is going to accept that.
No.
And you know what? It's okay that they don't.
Yes, sir.
It is absolutely okay at the family reunion if I don't eat your chicken. I didn't like it back then when I was a little boy. Right? But what I'm simply saying here is that it's okay if people don't accept your new way and your new home and your new address and your new friends and your new whatever, because they can't see that for themselves and they don't see it for you.
Right.
So they're trying to project who they are in their dreams off on you or lack thereof off on you. And they want you to accept those. No. Become the individual that God has made you to be, and you can help the family. What you do to become successful may actually pull them up and help them to be better at who they can be as well. So just know from a self-perception perspective or self-awareness perspective, don't try to live someone else's dream and who you are. Live the dream that God has put before you. I like a song. I'll put this in here. There's a song that Derek Coley sings. It's called He's Preparing Me. And then he says in the song that he's preparing me for things that I am not ready. that I'm not prepared for right now. But he's making me ready because he cares for me. So he's provided me with what I need to carry out the next matter in my life. He's preparing me. And then at the very end of the song, I love this. He said that he's pruning me, right?
Right.
And then he arranges me, but then he rearranges me. Now, in that song, Darrell Cole is talking about what he's doing to you,
right,
not to the people around you.
Come on.
He's talking about how you are showing up inside of what that experience that God wants you to have, not about other people. They will experience that energy depending on what energy you're putting off. But you don't have to live your life through their lenses. Live your life the way God has positioned you to live, and watch how you grow and become the person that he wants you to be.
I mean, that's beautiful. And when you talk about the hurts and you talk about, you know, like I said, you grew up in a toxic family environment, the hurts and the things that you just, for those who still dealing with unforgiveness, those who dealing with anger, those who dealing with bitterness, and you want to forgive that person, you want to move forward and let it go, but it's hard. How do you address that? How do you navigate with that?
So I mentioned earlier that a part of my certification or my learning has come through the energy leadership space. Many of the levels of energy that we feel are often coming from somewhere in our journey, right? For instance, if a person feel hurt, it's probably coming from somewhere in their journey to where they've experienced hurt. And here's what we say in this space is that hurt people, right? Because they're bringing hurt along with them. You can go into a new relationship, let's say it's a spousal relationship or a dating relationship. If you don't manage that hurt, you're just going to take it into a new relationship, and hurt is going to come out of that relationship because you haven't handled the hurt. So when people come to me from a coaching perspective, there's a lot of people out there who are certified in coaching, a lot of friends who may not be certified, but who may be available to help you deal with this. That is expressing, part of emotional intelligence is being able to express yourself. Many times we are afraid to really tell people what's inside of here, this heart space. But if you can express yourself and say, you know, one time, Coach Flo, I was hurt. And say, well, Dr. Dokes, in what area? Say, well, sometimes, one time a person said something ugly to me that I don't look good. And I've taken that with me for 20 years.
Come on.
And so now I'm fighting it by trying to hide behind mascara, trying to hide behind fashionable outfits, trying to show people that I'm something that I'm really not by spending money that I don't have, by creating financial hardship and situations that doesn't need to be. It's simply because I was hurt by a statement in my past that I have not taken care of today. So from an energy leadership perspective, it's affecting the current energy that I have, but it happened 20 years ago.
That's it.
But it's active and real today because I have not dealt with it. So when we come to a place of being emotionally intelligent and being self-aware that exists, and then being able to express it in such a way that somebody, before you get into this new relationship, you say, somebody hurt me one time. They said that they was going to only love me and they were loving me and someone else. I have a problem with that, and I've been hurt from that. Let's talk about that. Because if you're looking to do that, I don't want to be in this. I got to protect my boundaries. I don't want to be in that. So in our family situations, people have hurt us. In our personal spaces, people have hurt us. In our social spaces, people have hurt us. And I'm going to give you this last one that's a big deal. In the religious spaces, we have been hurt. We have been hurt by something. Someone said something and did something else. That could hurt. Because I'm putting a level of trust into each one of these categories and hoping that the best can come out for all of us, but yet you demonstrated something different. You hurt me. So now I have a problem trusting other people when they are genuinely for us. But I'm struggling in this current relationship because I can't trust because I never dealt with it. So I would say to the audience is make sure you tap into a coach or someone who can help you address your expression of hurt or whatever that expression is. Because we are dealing with all sorts of things in our past and we're bringing them forward and they are manifesting in our current relationship. It doesn't have to be like that if we just deal with it and become emotionally intelligent about it.
I agree. And with that being said, communication. Communication is the key, I feel like, when you talk about relationships, friendships, marriages, boyfriend and girlfriend, work relationships, how important is communication?
Oh, communication is at the heart of the matter, my friend. So oftentimes we think communication is about what we say only. But communication is happening when you first come up to someone. Your facial expression is speaking, your body language is speaking much louder than what you're actually saying. Yeah. So if you come up to me, let's say you're in a relationship and let's say someone did someone wrong. Yeah. Okay, this is a good one.
Yeah.
And you want him or her to apologize. And they come to you talking about, I told you I'm sorry. Dude, really?
Right.
Like that?
Right.
You really sorry? Well, I said it already. I said it to you 3 times that I was sorry.
Right.
But wait a minute. What is this? What is this energy? So you got to really think about that. Are you really sorry? And this is the one that bothers me a lot of time, especially in domestic violence situation. It's a big deal.
Huge deal.
The person does something to you to put you in danger, either mentally or physically, to put you in danger, right? To hurt you. And so they tell you after the first time it was a mistake. Okay, all right. Maybe so.
Yeah.
Maybe so. We can talk about it.
Right.
We can seek out some support.
Yeah.
But the 15th time, Coach Flo, the 20th time, what's up with that, right?
Oh, yeah.
We should not be putting ourselves out there for people to be a format for people to wipe their dirty shoes on.
Come on now.
I'm more than that.
Yes,
and so are you. And so what I'm saying here is that we have to guard, again, our boundaries, our territories,
That's it.
guard our hearts, guard our psychological spaces, guard our mental spaces, our personal, guard everything that makes up who we are so that we can live the highest possible life that God has made us to live. Yes, so whether we're talking about family members, whether we're talking about co-workers, communication is key. The other part of communication is you're sending a message the way you dress. Right? My friend Remy talks about this. He says, your image is your bank.
Come on now.
Right? So if you put on basketball shorts and basketball shoes and go on a football field, you're probably out of place.
That's it.
People are going to perceive you a certain way. You can't be mad at them.
No.
Right? If you dress up in football gear and go on a basketball court, then something suggests that you're out of place. I remember an old accounting term and a thought process that I never forget. And in accounting, I think we were in auditing at the time at Southern University. And the person said to me, to the class, how you hold yourself out is how people see you. How you hold yourself out is how people see you. What does that mean, Dr. Dokes? Great question. How you come across to people is what they think about you.
Yes, sir.
So if you want them to think a certain way, then help them.
Yeah.
Put the right gear on, have the right conversation. So if you're sorry, act like you're sorry. Show expressions like you're sorry. Hey, take me to Starbucks. This time you pay for it. Right? Take me to Popeyes. This time you allow me to supersize it. I'm just kidding. But what I'm simply saying here is that if someone is really sorry, they're going to express it and you're going to feel it in here and you don't have to guess about it. You'll know if they're sorry. If someone is genuinely happy for you, Coach Flo, you'll feel it.
Yeah.
You'll feel it. You'll know that they're genuinely happy for you. If your friend is happy for you or if your spouse is happy for you, you'll feel it and you'll know that they are. And you can take that and you can feast off that and build your relationship off that. But if they are not, you know that. You know when your friends and your family and your coworkers are not communicating to you the way that causes you to reflect positively. You know that. And so now you really need to guard your communication. And that's about all aspects of communication. Your tone, right? If you're up here, right? And I'm an introvert, so that extrovert. So extrovert sometimes will be talking to an introverted person, and the introvert is going like, "You are too loud."
Yeah.
Right? Why are you yelling at me?
Yeah.
Right? They don't necessarily mean that you are yelling at where you normally sit.
Right.
They simply mean to them you're yelling. So you may want to bring it down. So know who you're speaking with.
Yeah.
Know who you're in the room with.
Yeah.
Who you're conversating with. You should know something about them if you want to be effective in your communication. So if she likes to talk over food, take her out. Yeah. Right? Yeah. If you forgot to put the gas in the car and she's mad at you, you forgot to leave that extra $20 because she told you she was going to go to lunch with her girlfriends. Well, if you know Friday, you tell her, hey, baby, I'm going to take you out and I'm gonna pay for it, right? I'm gonna drive. You're gonna be in my car. All I want you to do is get dressed, look cute like you always do, and sit back and enjoy this ride, right? But it simply says that when people really care for you from a community perspective, they're gonna come across in such a way that your heart is going to respond to that. When they don't care for you, they're gonna come across in such a way that your heart knows that there is an issue. But I'm gonna tell you from an emotional intelligence perspective, that could also throw your energy levels out of whack. Right? So we have to be self-aware of what we are allowing into our space. What type of energy are we allowing into our spaces? What type of sound bites are coming into our ear, because it's affecting our heart. 100%. And out of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Oh, right? 100% agree. And for those who are looking for the apology, if you say you sorry and that person don't receive, okay, that's up to them. Okay, if you go to that person first and say you're sorry, because some people have a pride issue of where they offended somebody, and everybody is offended and looking for offenses, and I want to talk about that next. But hey, there's nothing wrong with saying I'm sorry. And if that person don't receive you or receive that apology, you said what you had. And if you're looking for that person to say they're sorry, and they probably won't, just live with it. Get peace with it. Okay. But offenses, let's talk about offenses, because this culture is so offended. Somebody said something, somebody didn't say something, somebody looked at me funny. That's a huge thing going in this culture. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, so first of all, you're right. But in this culture, 2024, and again, we're not talking about age.
No.
Because in this culture that we're referring to. So right now, there's a survey out that says that America, from the happiness scale, we used to be a number 15 on the happiness scale, but now we dropped down to number 23. Why are we so unhappy, right? I think a lot of it comes from, we want acceptance from other people. We feel like they got to accept us, or we don't feel happy about that, right? And so they say personal happiness is really good. It's about 83% according to the scale. But when you look at the other factors, and if you delineate the data, disaggregate the data, you will see that there's other areas where happiness is not really there. Of course, on the bottom of the happiness scale is our economics and that type of deal, right? But today it's huge deal of how people perceive us, right? Well, if you know who you are, as we talked about earlier from an emotional intelligence perspective, you should work off of that before you do anything else. People can tell you who they think you are. They don't have to be right. They're just talking about from a perspective or a perception. It's okay that they have a perception. It doesn't have to be right, but they can have one. But know who you are and what you bring to the table that can change the atmosphere in which you're working in. When you can solidify that first, then when you're showing up, you're going to always be 100, right? Because if you're less than 100, then they'll fill that bucket with some other stuff.
Come on now.
Right? So we got to remember who we are. When we come into a space, know who you are and stand firm on who you are. That doesn't mean that we can't change some because somebody has helped us to understand that some new way or some new ideology or whatever. That's fine, right? We're talking about change in that perspective. That's positive change. But this deficit mindset, either from somebody else put on me or I have on myself, we can change that by knowing who we are and living at a higher level of thought process and a higher level of action when it comes to how we engage with one another. So from an emotional intelligence perspective, I go around that wheel again: self-perception, self-awareness, decision-making, impulsive control, and all those other. That's where we need to hang our hats. And from an energy level perspective, we need to remember that our energy is being tossed to and from, going up and down based on what we're allowing into our ear and into our heart. And so if we can protect the heart, we can protect how we show up on a daily basis.
I agree 100%, man. And this conversation has been really, really impactful for me, and I definitely hope it's been impactful for you, because this is just part one, because we have even barely touched the surface of EQ, IQ, and I want to tap into leadership. I know he is a key master at talking about leadership and what that looks like. Okay. And I think that we're going to get that ball rolling on the next episode because, man, I hope you have enjoyed the content. Hey, hit the thumbs up, hit the like, hit subscribe. Okay. I appreciate you, Dr. Dokes, for stopping by. And we're going to definitely keep this conversation going. I bring in some more professionals as well to just kind of get a panel, because I think as a culture, we need to really have healthy conversations. We are so bombarded on negativity, but if we can just lift each other up, be positive, and just continue to encourage each other, because that's what we need. We need to be encouraged. We need to be uplifted. We need to be enlightened, okay, and shed some light up on this dark world. And the only way we can do that is by continue to better ourselves and grow. Okay?
Absolutely, Coach.
You have to grow. So like I always say, if you ain't growing, you ain't going. Get with like-minded people, get with positive-minded people, and people who have vision, who have goals, who have dreams. All right. I appreciate you guys stopping by. See you in the next one. Peace.